So today we're going to install a new rear sprocket on this Pitster Pro. It should be fairly simple. The bike is on a stand. This is a sport bike stand, but it works pretty well. And it's mounted with these little rubber things, and you just kind of push it up. So you're going to need a very large breaker bar, and we're just simply going to undo this nut, 32 millimeter, and that's the axle, and then there's a spacer here. So put that aside. This is the chain adjuster. I might remove that just for now. Very interesting, so keep in mind the way it goes in. This part is the part that adjusts the chain. The reason I'm removing it is that I can kind of perhaps move it a little bit better. So we're gonna go to the other side. I like to take a soft mallet and just kind of hit it like this. Just get it to the other side. There we go. The axle is coming out of this side. Normally you have to kind of lift up on the axle and twist. Notice too that this is built into the left side. So when we put it on, we'll have to do the same. We'll have to re-grease it. There's actually some grease on here, so it's just something that we'll have to do. But you see, I'm kind of just pushing the chain out of the way. There we go, the chain is out of the way. Should be able to slide it back. There we go. Keep in mind there's some spacers that fell off. This is the wheel. Bearings or the spacers that came out. So this is the rear sprocket that I'm installing. And you might be asking yourself, why even do that? Well, chain-driven bikes are extremely flexible because you can change the way the bike behaves. The owner of the bike, Glenn, is actually going to go much smaller on the rear. And what that means is that if you go small on the rear, that means that you gain top speed, or it becomes a better highway bike if you do it that way. So right now, the main complaint about this sprocket is that it is geared so low because it's a big sprocket that it's really good for the dirt. It's got much more torque, but also it maxes out like a 40 or 60 miles per hour. And when you add something like this, it is, you can rev it like lower and go faster. You do lose a little bit of the torquiness of it, but not much. You know, on my V-Strom 650, I did this on purpose. I actually went very low. Even on my Ninja 250, I went very low because I wanted to get better gas mileage on the highway. And this is one way of doing it. If you go low on the rear sprocket, you basically gain miles per gallon. The bike becomes a little bit easier on the road, and it doesn't become that big of a dirt bike. So that's the key now, because he did a bunch of dirt riding. He wants to go back and do dual sporting. And the way to do it is to change the sprockets. And it's a very easy mod. To remove the sprocket on this one in particular, you have to use one of these open wrenches and just kind of put it in the back. And you're holding on to this nut. So, like this, just kind of put it this way. And then, this is a 6 millimeter. And then I use a breaker bar and I just twist it. And that's a good sign. That means that it is coming, is breaking. This is on very tight. There we go. But once you hear that snap, that's when you know that it's coming off. So now we have the sprocket on there. It's a much smaller sprocket. All we have to do now is to clean and grease all the bearings and clean everything. The sprocket, having a smaller sprocket is going to give a little bit more top end speed. 41 to 38? Yes. So the stock one is a 41 and this one is a 38 tooth sprocket. So it's quite a big difference. So we'll find out eventually how well it handles on the road, which is the reason for doing this mod. And by the way, I didn't show it in the video, but you have to use plenty of grease in the spacers, the axle, and the O-rings in there. So, you know, just grease it up pretty good. Don't put too much, don't put too little. So we've done a sprocket change. There is a different size spacer for the right and for the left. Keep that in mind. One of the things I did wrong, I reversed the spacers. So when I was putting it in and then I was tightening the axle, it was too tight. And what that was is that the spacers have to be in the correct space. So basically the part that's wider goes towards the outside of the bike on both sides. And I believe that the left side spacer is wider than the right side. So keep that in mind when you remove it. I was not aware of that when I removed that because the spacers kind of fell out when I removed the wheel. Should be able to slide it back. There we go. Keep in mind there's some spacers that fell. Have our axle tight. One of the things I did wrong, remember I am not a mechanic, so I make a lot of mistakes. There are spacers on the left and the right. The longer spacer goes here, and the shorter spacer goes to the right where the disc brake is. So, one of the issues that we're encountering now is that we put a smaller sprocket, and what this did was completely shorten the chain, or it made the chain really long. Using just some pliers like this, and I've already done it. So you grab another one like this and you push it from the corner, or you take it like this and you just kind of pull it backwards. This might involve a few tries to get this, but this little, so that is pretty much what the Master Link looks like, and it grabs the pins on the chain, and that's how it keeps from splitting open. This makes it easy to adjust the chain and put it together, figuring out how much of a chain we want. So we're going to put another section onto here. So what we're going to do is figure out how many links we need to cut, and we need to figure out where to cut, because you'd have to cut it like 2 links in, because there's 2 parts to the chain. So let's see, if I grab this, we want this section, the inside. We need to cut a few pieces off of this chain. I'm going to cut it a little bit longer. It's always good to have it a little bit longer.
We literally take like the average lawsuit times the average payout. This is real stuff. It's real.
100%. It's real. I mean, I remember.
And there we go. That's a chunk of the chain off. And now, let's see, can I put this in the Master Link? That's the key here. It should fit. A little bit of the tension on the chain removed. So now it's on there. And I'm going to take the plate, which is this. Make sure it faces the right way. Actually, I don't think there is a way to it. So we just kind of fit this through here. And now we have our clip. This is the Master Link clip. Generally, this is regarded as the, and there is a direction, so you don't want to install it this way going forward, just because it might catch somewhere. So you want to install it with the direction of the round part going in the chain. That way, if it does hit something, it's not going to spread and open. If you were to put it this way with the open part up, you know, possibly you could hit the front sprocket, a rock or something, and open it, and then the chain will come loose. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here. The last thing we have to do is just simply tighten the chain, and I have the adjustment here. This is the 32 millimeter. You want to loosen that. But the thing to note is that there's a notch right here. This notch indicates the alignment. And then there's these little marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that push the chain backwards. So you can use your hands to kind of push back on the axle, and it'll tighten the chain. And you can see, like, you can align it. You want to push it back, and the key is to have the marks on this right side of the swing arm be the same as the side over here on the left. You want to be able to move the notch, and right now on the right side it's on the between the first and the second, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it in the first and the second. I put another wrench in here so it doesn't move. I'm just going to put my finger and then tighten the axle, and then I will do that. So there we go. Now with the right and the left, do another check for the chain, and if it's 1 or 2 inches, you're good. So just tighten this to the correct torque. Kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.